All right, everyone, thanks for joining me today. Okay, so we're going to be discussing Nigeria today and the ongoing web of dispute that's currently going on between Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, and the Nigerian government, as well as the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC. They're all right now involved in a huge dispute. And I'm going to discuss what that is and how we got here. First, there is an accusation that's being levied against Dangote's refinery. The accusation is that he's monopolizing the market. Now, why will they be accusing a man who has the largest refinery in Africa, a refinery that basically was built to process 650,000 barrels of crude oil per day, a refinery which has been the pride of both Nigerians and Africans, a man who is trying to do something to improve the economic situation of his country as well as Africa. Why will he be entangled in a web of accusation such as what they've called monopoly? They're accusing him of monopolizing the market. The reason why they're bringing this accusation up against him is because Dangote, they're accusing him that Dangote requested the suspension of diesel and aviation fuel from being imported into the country. He sent in a request, this is the accusation, to the government that he is requesting the suspension of these imports to allow his own refinery provide and supply these to the country as well as also neighboring countries. Now, you might say, what's wrong with that? You might say, this is what Nigeria has been waiting for. Because up until the refinery was built, what Nigerians have been doing for years is export out its crude oil because they don't have refineries to produce the finished product of the crude oil. Crude oil is a hydrocarbon organic raw material that is used to produce and make things like jet fuel, gas, oil, and many other things. Nigeria did not have the capacity of creating these. So they export things out to countries like Saudi Arabia, to the United States, who then sell this back to Nigeria at higher rates. This is what one of the largest producer of oil has been doing up until this refinery was built. So this refinery gets built and starts operation to be able to process 650,000 barrels of crude oil a day. Now, why will the Nigerian government, along with NNPC, which is the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, accuse him or be worried about a man who is trying to supply his country with this product rather than having them imported it? So this is what the whole web of dispute has been about. This is a clear case of jumping over dollars for pennies. You understand this? This is exactly what that is. Worry about the wrong thing. Now, let's also dissect what their fear is. The refinery, which is the largest employer in Nigeria currently right now, it employs over 30,000 Nigerians and people to that refinery. It is the single largest employer of the country. The agencies in Nigeria are worried that such a person with such power could be dangerous for the country. And so NNPC suspended the supply of crude oil to Dangote. Dangote's refinery has been going to several places to get crude oil. One of the reasons why they suspended it is because of the allegation. The other reason is because up until the allegation, NNPC has been saying that they cannot supply the reserve that Nigeria has in crude oil. Nigeria has over 37 billion barrels of crude oil in reserves. 37 billion barrels of crude oil. That what they have in reserve isn't going to be enough to handle the demand that Dangote's refinery is asking for, which is 650,000 barrels a day to be able to meet the demand of the market. And so what Dangote's refinery have been doing is going to outside places to get crude oil, right? You're going to Angola, Libya, and the United States. Now think about that for a second. Okay? Think about this for a second, and then we'll come back to that. And so because of this allegation, they suspended that. Now, Dangote has pushed back at this, right? He's pushed back that he's not trying to monopolize the market, and all of that has been going on. You would think that that was the end of it. In addition to all of that, the NMDPRA, I'll tell you what they stand for. They stand for the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Also accused him of producing low-grade quality oil. They went and tested the product, and they cited him that he's producing low-grade oil, basically fake stuff. That is the other accusation on top of the accusation of that he is monopolizing the market. He comes out, Dangote comes out to refute these allegations. He's been seen on the news giving several press releases and press conferences that this isn't true. This is just an attempt of people trying to undermine his refinery and the success of his refinery. And this is basically a lot of outside forces trying to sabotage the success of his refinery. And they've been going through a lot of and ducking bullets, right, ever since they opened. So that's been going on. Now, his refinery pushes back, and they came out and released a statement. Basically, his vice president of oil and gas for Dangote's refinery, Mr. Devakumar Edwin, comes out and accuses the IOC, the International Oil Companies, of trying to sabotage the refinery's success by increasing and manipulating crude oil prices to undermine their operations. So they see all of these things, the allegation, the false allegation, this is what they claim, against him, as well as the agencies, the NMDPRA, new findings that he's producing low-grade oil, as well as the IOC. They see all of this as a coordinated effort to sabotage the success of the refinery. Okay. Now, why is NNPC involved in this, right? You might ask. NNPC owns 20% stakes in the refinery. Now, that was the initial offering when they first started. There are three players, three investors, right, that invested money in the building of this refinery. One, obviously, is Dangote himself. The name was NNPC, who pledged 20% stake in the company, as well as Nigeria's billionaire, Femi Odedola. He is worth $1.5 billion, according to Forbes. The Dangote's refinery have accused NNPC of not living up to its initial offering to the refinery. So they've downgraded their stakes to 7.2%. NNPC says that's a lie, according to Sahara Reporter, that they have paid and funded up to the 20% stakes which they own, but the Dangote's refinery says that's not true. Now, it becomes a he say, she say. Could it be that Dangote is saying no because they're pushing back and they're trying to now, push back at NNPC because of the new accusation? Could it also be true that they haven't really paid up to the 20% stake that they claim they own with the company? All of that is he says, he said. We will never know. Now, because of all of these, the Nigerian government decides to step in, finally, and orders NNPC to begin supplying crude oil to the refinery. That is the latest of all of this. Now, I've just given you the facts of what has been going on over the last few weeks as relates to this. Now, let me tell you that this entire thing stinks. This entire thing is so sad and it stinks that you have a country who has now the opportunity to boost its economy, to improve the economic well-being of its people. One of the key things that Nigerians suffer is at the pump. One of it, in addition to the food situation in Nigeria, having high gas price or shortage of gas in Nigeria has been a problem in that country. The country doesn't have 24 hours electricity, and so this facility is one of those to provide gas to Nigeria, in addition to fuel for their car. So Nigerians pay a lot of money at the pump because the country, up until this refinery was built, has been exporting its raw material and importing it back at high prices, eating into the country's GDP growth. So you have a man who decides to do something that the government hasn't been able to do. And here it is that they're fighting him. So because of all of this, he's vexed. Dangote now released a statement saying that he's no longer going to build the largest steel facility in Nigeria, which was plans for Nigeria. He's no longer going to do it. He shelved that whole plan to do that. Now, that could very well be an emotional outburst. That could very well be an emotional talk. We will never know. But that was a statement that he made. God knows the country needs that. God knows the country needs the refinery. God knows the country needs a boost of the economy. It is incredibly sad that you have a country like Nigeria, and the biggest enemy for that country has been the country itself. The biggest sabotage in that country has been the country itself. To have a man like this man do something to solve the issues of the country, and to have the country and its agencies try to undermine the success of this, to me, is the dumbest thing you ever could see. Now, is it possible that the federal government's decision to now allow NNPC supply crude oil to him, is it possible that that decision came in just now a couple of days ago, could be as a result of trying to look like they're doing something to quell the protest that's starting today, August 1st. August 1st starts the 10-day protest. The Nigerian youth who were inspired by what was going on in Kenya, who also know that in Nigeria, things are bad in Nigeria, and they know that they have been going through and suffering under bad governance, which is one of the key things you'll find with many African countries, certainly Nigeria. Decided about a month ago, released these protests that's going on right now, which they coined hashtag end bad governance. And the entire protest is to push back and to voice their displeasure at the corruption and the policies and the bad governance and leadership in Nigeria that has brought Nigeria to this point. This administration, upon learning about the protest and seeing what's been going on in Kenya and fearing that type of outcome in Kenya, has been pulling out all the stops. One of which is increasing minimum wage, which they have been sitting on for years, since he got into office, basically. It has been trying to twist arm to increase minimum wage, to provide people with livable wage, which they have been refusing to do and sitting on it. They finally increased it to 70,000 naira per month, which equivalently is less than $100 per month. Imagine trying to live on $100 a month. So that was one of the decisions they made in the hopes to try to quell the anger that they see brooding with the youth. Another thing they've tried to do is now provide supplies of food and try to deter people from protesting by saying that we're going to do something about this. Please calm down. Don't get too crazy. We don't want what happened in Kenya to happen in Nigeria. Calm down, all of this stuff. So again, I ask the question, is it possible that the decision to now decide to allow NNPC to supply crude oil, which they should have been doing, imagine this for a second. Imagine this, which they should have been doing the entire time, could be as a result of trying to quell that. Now, the Nigerian government says that the reason why they're doing this is to be able to boost the Nigerian naira, because they're going to be selling that to the Dangote's refinery in naira in an effort to boost the naira. You would think that that's something that they should have known this entire time. You would think that is something they should have known to do this entire time. The economy has over 30% inflation rate. And this government in Nigeria decides to fight the one facility and refinery in the country who is asking to supply the country with its own products so that we don't import it anymore to boost the country's economy. You would think that would be a no-brainer for a government to see that to be, yes, let's do that, without having to fight its own, right? Because they're worried about monopoly. You're really worried about monopoly? See, this is the type of thing that really pisses me off, right? This is the type of thing that pisses me off. And this is why a lot of people get pissed off at Nigeria, because when you look at Nigeria, the Nigerian people are amazing people, but they sometimes can make dumb decisions, like elect the one that is in there right now. Elect the one that's in there right now. It was a bad idea to put this person in position. It was a bad idea. It was an idea that was so bad that I came out a year ago. I did a live video, which most of you didn't watch. Right? Live video, trying to discourage you from electing this person with a bad record to position. Nigerians, in my video, I said, and I predicted that Nigerians will elect him. You should go watch it. I'm going to link it to this video. It is called "While the Next 8 Years Are Going to Be the Darkest for Nigeria." I did a live video over 2 hours on this. Most of you didn't watch it. And then I did also other videos why you should not elect this man because of the records. And I predicted that Nigeria, in his second term, in my video, in his second term, a dollar would be over 1,000 naira in Nigeria. It is almost like 1,600 naira now to a dollar under his administration. The same people took money from him, switched their vote, and voted him in. Could perhaps be the same ones right now on the streets trying to protest what his government is doing to cause hardship in the country. I predicted this. Right? And so Nigerians are now feeling the brunt of the decision they made to elect a man like him into office, who is making decisions like fighting the one person who is trying to build the Nigerian economy, something that they failed to do. The one person trying to build it, sabotaging the effort of this refinery, which has been a blessing to the country. I don't understand why. I don't understand why. I find this government to be a puppet. I find this administration to be a puppet. And I don't see this administration doing anything to improve the well-being of a country. It is why the youth of the country are pissed off and they have decided to go into a protest. I find this entire thing with this feud with Dangote's refinery an embarrassment, to say the least. I find it to be an embarrassment. Because Nigeria should be better than this. Nigeria should be a lot further than this. Rather than support the refinery and give it all the support it needs to help improve the economy, this government and the agencies under this government decides to fight him. Now you ask yourself the question, why would anyone in their right mind want to go to Nigeria, right? If you can fight the one guy from Nigeria who is doing something like this, why in the world would anyone want to go invest in a country like that just so they can have their government attack them and sabotage their investments? It is a sad day. It's a real sad day. So I hope that things get better. I hope the situation with the Dangote's refinery resolve itself. I hope they allow the man who I see as a visionary, a person who I see as a brave person, a solution provider, a pioneer in Africa. I hope that country will get out of this way and allow him to do what the Almighty has put in his spirit to do, to help save that country, as well as a lot of neighboring countries in Africa, from the devastation and exploitation that we know we've all felt from outside foreign entities. I hope that happens. And until then, like the video, share the content, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Det finns ingen annan där som kan stå här by my side, oh why. Sättet du rör på det får mig att dö för dig baby. För de här yardis, de vill ju bara dra ner oss. Men du är fett och vanlig. På det jag lägger all min tid och jag vill ha dig. Du får mig känna safety. Jag kan nog leda baby.